Hey guys, HuShang here. Today we're going to be going through one of my PvP games against Volts. So, top 50 GM match here. I'm going to be going for a 2-gate opening. And I think this game's kind of interesting. We go into a late game where I'm actually playing more as the high-tech defender, which is a position I'm not normally in. Usually I like to take the high eco approach, but Volts likes to play these kind of slightly off meta styles, and so this game he's playing like a super heavy gateway man style, and we're kind of, you know, taking the slower, more tech heavy approach. So I'm going to be opening up here with a double gate. Of course, our probe's going in here, and his probe's in my base. It's at like 120 here, so I think oftentimes people will see this probe and worry about, you know, cannon rushes or stuff like that. But as long as it's not here too early, like 1 minute, then you don't need to worry about that stuff so much. And as you can see, Volt's also going for a 2-gate opening. This wasn't the meta for a little bit, but I think it's Harstem who has started going for this kind of zealot sentry opening to get your natural in case they pylon block. And you can still kind of get away with this up against the max packs fast Stargate build. I think it's still slightly inferior with perfect play, but it feels like there's a lot of wiggle room to kind of hide what you're doing against the Stargate stuff, and so you can kind of go with this opening still if you would like. So I see he's going double gate. Currently I've been trying out this really greedy style where you basically just don't play safe at all. Like you cut corners so that if they do go for some sort of early attack, you kind of just die. But I feel like it's a good thing to throw into my repertoire. So you can see me going here for the double adept expansion and then the third pylon, which is not very standard because you obviously can't continue making units right now. You can see I'm fully blocked, at least for one of my next gateway units. But once that pylon finishes, you can continue making units, of course. And if my opponent did go for like 4 stalker pressure, that kind of strategy would be pretty difficult to hold. But even still, I feel this is a fun style to add to my repertoire. So we're a little bit ahead here in the workers, of course, because of that. Not because of anything Volts did wrong here. And you can see my adepts coming through. They actually get in here, and I'm targeting the sentries at first. He used up all the energy too, so he doesn't have like an amazing scout. But I think overall his defense here was actually really good. Like he lost 1 sentry, which was kind of annoying, and he lost 1 probe, but that was it. So really good defense by him. That probably should have ended the game, to be honest, with maybe better control by me. Maybe just going for the probes immediately. But now we're kind of settling into a relatively even position where I'm up a worker or 2, but nothing major. Both of us are getting blink. And in this phase of the game, the meta used to be to go for the forge as fast as you can. But the problem if you do that is the opponent can get quite aggressive at your third as it's going up before the shield battery can be overcharged, right? Like as your Nexus is building. And so what most people have been doing at the pro level is actually cutting that forge and instead going for kind of a lot of stalkers here just to prevent that third if possible. And in general in Starcraft 2, the economy is way more important than the upgrades. And so if you can get a third base with no forge against a 2-base Protoss with a forge, you should be at an advantage there. You should have like a 10 probe leader or something insane. And so that's going to overcome the forge upgrades, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to go for a pretty fast third here. I've just been kind of warping in stalkers when I can, and then as I had money, I grabbed the third base. But what I want to know here is, like, did he go for the fast forge? If so, I'm going to do a pretty heavy pressure here. So still warping in just in case he kind of does the same. And you can see he had like pretty similar stalker count to me there. But I'm still going to move across because I want to make the illusion that I'm kind of committed here. I don't feel like I'm going to get anything done, but just to kind of pop in and see. Obviously, you got to be quite careful, but this sort of thing is pretty strong at this level, as long as you're safe about it. So I just kind of poke in here, and then I just leave. And yeah, we have to leave now because he's got the defender's advantage. We're out of sentry energy, among other things. So I back up. And you can see it worked. Like, he added 2 shield batteries here. Like, he's kind of worried that we're maybe doing like a 4 gate or something instead of being on 2 gates. And here's where I started to get some really nice info. You can see at the natural of my opponent, he only has 2 gas. So instantly that tells me that he really wants to go super Charizard heavy. And so when I saw that, my plan was to go into Archons. As you can see, I'm grabbing the Templar Archives. Normally, you actually don't go over the Templar Archives anymore because Disruptors counter them so hard. But I'm going for them here just because I can see he's playing very, very Zealot heavy. And yeah, generally I'm not in this position. Like, this is a pretty abnormal position for me to be the, you know, person with more tech and then hence the defender. So we kind of just need to sit back and pay attention to when he's planning on going for his pushes so we can respond accordingly. Like, we don't want to take a 4th base right now because we have more tech. And so if you have more tech and you try to take more expansions, you're putting yourself at too much of a risk there. So instead of doing that, I'm kind of just sitting here. And you can even see that I'm adding 2 more cannons right now because I suspected that he was going to go for like a 3 base timing with Mad Zealot. But instead he's grabbing his 4th here. Oh, I should point out that the main reason I thought he was going to do that is because he had no forge. So it kind of seemed like he was ready to go super all in. But with this scout, we can kind of see the probes mining. So I knew right now, okay, he actually did go for a 4th, surprisingly. But that's okay for us. I mean, we have a really big +1 advantage here, +1 attack upgrade advantage. So I'm going to grab my 4th, and I'm going to start probing again. And then I'm going to be scouting here just to see like where he's planning on going because he's so low on the gas that he kind of needs to Mad Zealot, right? Like, unless he starts taking gas now, maybe he can go like Disruptors or something. But where it stands, he's kind of locked into this Gateway Man style. So we want to be so cautious. Like, I can't even stress enough how cautious you want to be here because if you move on onto the map against this style, it's insane. So you can see he kind of feels like he needs to attack me here. And that was a big win for us. We shaved off like 8 Zealots. Got the Observer. Pushed him all the way back. I think we even grabbed that Sentry. And so now our position is quite strong. And I feel like we even have enough of an army here to kind of take initiative and push him. But we have to be careful about it. So like one problem I can see arising here as I push is that he pressures my 4th and cancels that. And then we kind of get into some trouble where it's like a messy game. And if it's a messy game, you want to be the person spamming the basic units. Like, they're just way better in these chaos type situations, in my opinion. So instead of doing that, I kind of waited a little bit patiently here, which is super against my motto. And we let the cannons finish up at my 4th. And then now we're going to kind of set up for an attack. So a little bit of a delay, but I think it's an important one. Now here I was kind of scared that he was maybe going into Disruptors because I think that's his best plan forward. But I should have been a little bit more patient right now because my +2 is not quite done. I felt like we had like a decent position there, so I think that was part of why I pulled the trigger, but I think in retrospect it was probably not the greatest push here. But we do have like 4 Archon, so we're trading super well. We got 2 Immortal as well, which is pretty powerful. And very even kind of fight here, where we're pushing into an opponent's 5th, and we are on 4 bases. So I think a lot of people here would keep going and all in. But what you have to understand is that our ecos are actually not that different. And the reason they're not that different is because even though he's on 5 bases, he doesn't have as many gases as I do. Like I have 3 gas. I'm going to get more as well, and he's still on like 2. So the worker count, if we check it out, is actually pretty similar. So I pull all the way back. We've kind of traded with him. And if you think about it from his perspective, he's got to continue spamming these gateway units, right? Because if he doesn't and I keep pushing, he could be in a lot of trouble. So he's committing onto these like kind of less than ideal units. And I'm going to transition into a lot of gas and just play this super methodical, right? I'm just going to play to max out basically. And I think this is one of the easiest styles to play. You got to be careful of your opponent like over-teching you as well, but in this position we have such a good tech advantage that if I just chill here and kind of reach max, we're going to be in a good position because my army is just going to be superior, right? And so from Volt's perspective right now, what he's got to do, well, he's got 2 options actually. What he's got to do is he's either got to push me really hard here and trade. But the problem with that approach, it is an approach. It's not like you should never do this, but the problem with that approach is that he's pushing into my defense, right? So I get to use overcharge, I get to use my cannons, I get a little bit of defender's advantage of warp-ins and stuff like that. And then his other approach is to go into disruptors, right? And I think that approach is a little more solid, but that approach also has some problems where it's a little bit tricky to get the tech out before I attack, right? But I think he should have probably went that route. So I max out here. You can also see that he went up to 80 workers. And so one of the advantages you get when someone has more economy than you, it's not like a straight up trade. It's actually I have a bigger army, right? So he has more eco, but I have a bigger army. And so in this main fight, he gets absolutely rolled because I have like 20 more supply than him, which is like 10 zealots, and that snowballs super hard. Not to mention that counterattack. So we get a huge advantage here after being quite patient. I'm hitting right before my upgrade again, so that seems to be a common theme. But I think this time it was very justified. Obviously we just won the fight previously on the defense. And from here we just gotta start cleaning up his bases slowly. Take it slow for sure, because like I said, he could be going into disruptors from this position. And we got to be careful that the zealots don't run forward too far. If you just A move here, it's a little bit sketchy sometimes. So I'm going to pull back the zealots quite a bit. Use hold position sometimes, or just redo the A move quite often is also good. And now we're going to be rotating. I mean, the game is pretty much over, but I think it's important to take these situations slowly. Because I've lost plenty of games where I'm winning like this. You know, maybe he has like 4 disruptor up there or something. You never know how much money they got in the bank either. So what I'm going to do here is just set up a really nice concave. And then I'm just going to use my my ranged units to kind of poke away. And hopefully force him to come to me. So you see we're maintaining the concave. I've got the Archon and the Stalkers going for the cannons. And then that kind of forces him to engage into a position he really doesn't want to. And then as you can see, I just keep pulling back. And he doesn't really have a choice here. He kind of has to do this, or he loses the base. So he chooses to lose the base. And that is pretty much game. It plays out a little bit longer here, but yeah, that is pretty much it. We've taken out all his bases, and it's only a matter of time before we crush his army as well. So hopefully this was instructive. Hopefully you guys like this sort of video. I think my dog wants to go outside. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Check out my website if you would like some coaching, and I will see you guys in the next one.